This is Brian Mayer, host of Hot Sauce Weekly, and you are listening to BCRN, all barbecue and grilling all the time.
From my heart and from my hand, why don't people understand my intention?
Happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the Charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shake a face.
I'm shaking like a dog shitting peach seeds.
You could use it to fight off creeping marauders looking to take your steaks off your grills.
I just like being anywhere with Junior, Senior, and Diva.
Sounds like a whole other type of movie.
Wow. Yeah, really. Keep it hot, keep it clean, keep it lubricated.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
Hey, welcome to the second hour, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. After Dark portion of the Barbecue Central show right here on the Barbecue Central Radio Networks. Thanks to George Shore from Pitmaker. Thanks to Derek Riches from About.com. Thanks to Don for persevering, from what I understand, for the Harry Carey Looflighter giveaway portion of the show. Let's not race. Not only let's not race, but let's not waste any more time. Let's race right over to the hotline. Pull up After Dark segment guest favorite of the show, Pitmaster of Notley Q, Gary Notley. What's up, buddy?
How you doing?
Gary, I have you this week. What's going on?
Nothing.
No?
Just getting ready to go out. Going to see the band Pepper tonight in Solana Beach.
Pepper, what? Give us the genre of Pepper.
They're kind of like Sublime, a little Hawaiian influence.
Less
Good friends of mine, they toured with us with the Offspring this summer, so they're playing down the street for me. So
like Sublime, but less the heroin, right?
Exactly.
Nice.
More alive.
More alive. Much like Harry Carey, more alive. All right, so Gary Notley joining us. Luckily, we are able to reconnect with him after the miscommunication last week, but always great to have you here on the show, Gary. Lots of different places that we can start. Certainly, you are a favorite of the After Dark segment, so let me get this out right in the open. If anybody wants to call in, you want to mark out to Gary, you want to ask him a question about anything in general, he's a TV star, he's a tattoo star, he's a cooking star, just dial up toll-free. We'll take your call, 877-448-0433. It's 877-448-0433. That being said, Gary, as you kind of are reviewing the last 10 months or so of competition barbecue for the Notley Q team, how did it go for you? How do you gauge this particular calendar year of 2010?
I didn't compete as much as I would have liked. Other commitments took priority of it, but I'm really happy with, I got 2 reserve grand champions this year, and I got a first in ribs, which I thought would never happen because the judges usually hate my ribs. And but it's been fun. My next one is New Year's Eve. It's a Henry Silvestri event. He's put on great ones. He put on that one in Tijuana that I cooked at. And hopefully next year I get to do a lot more.
So, Gary, let's back it up a little bit for the people that perhaps aren't as familiar with who you are and how you got in this whole deal. You know, we certainly run a gamut of listenership here. We have the people that are the diehard competition people that have seen you on TV and know a little bit more about your history, but then we have the peripheral people that might be just more backyard warriors. How does one Gary Notley get even involved in barbecue? How does that percolate into competition? And we'll kind of start from there.
I kept seeing it on TV and thought that I could do it, and all my friends said I cooked good ribs, and I went out with a good friend of mine, Chris Rock, who has his own barbecue team out here, and he let me cook chicken and ribs, and it was the best thing I ever did. Like, it was crazy how fun it was and how friendly everybody was on, like, the first time I ever went out, and I got the bug and started cooking contests and doing all right for a guy who just goes out and cooks contests and has a few beer, and started taking it serious the last couple of years and kind of weaseled my way on the Pitmaster show with Harry Sue from Slap Your Daddy, and just took off from there. Got into some cool catering gigs with some like rock bands and stuff, and it's been a fun ride.
So how does that actually work with I mean, you're definitely known as kind of like the barbecue rocker. How do you get those jobs with some of the bigger names in the music industry?
I have good friends who play in the band Anthrax, and I started just cooking for them because they're my friends, and they passed the word along to people saying, like, this guy's stuff is amazing. And I started using a hot sauce called Gringo Bandito, and it happened to be owned by Dexter Holland, who's the lead singer of The Offspring, and it was just a good ingredient I added to my mix that, you know, it brought my scores up. Was it a coincidence? I don't think it was, because it's a really good product. And I sent him an email saying, this is who I am, this is what I do, and, you know, let's talk. And I brought them up barbecue one day just to show him, like, hey, thanks for sponsoring me, and try some of my food. And he fell in love with it, and I ended up hooking up with them and going on tour with them last summer.
So are you going on tour to, like, cook for them?
I was doing production work, which is like management stuff, but instead of like ordering pizzas and subs at the end of the night, I'd whip out the Webers and fire up some like burgers and whatever I could cook up. Some days I brought my 18-inch WSM, and I would cook up like pork butt and brisket, just, you know, make the crew happy, and it was fun.
Gary Notley joining us here on the show. His website is Notley Q, and Q is QUE, NotleyQ.com if you want to check him out there on the interwebs. Gary, so in the competition side of things, as you're building your experience, how did you assess what kind of a cooker did you need, or what did you use initially, and have you graduated out of what you originally used into the gear you're using now?
I first started on like a crappy little offset, which was good at the time, but I went to the WSMs because they're portable and they cook a really good product for like a competition. You know, I use 3 of them for each meat, and I grill my chicken on like just like a kettle. But they're portable and they turn out a really good product. And if you look at the people who are cooking on them, you know, like Harry Sue, he's like what, 3rd or 4th in the country right now.
4th, yeah.
And it's you know, it's if you can turn out a good product on it. I have a spice line, and it's a great product, but at 600 pounds, it's a little bit too much to lug around. And I just like the WSM. They're portable, they're small, they turn out a good product for what I need.
Now, for the people that, and I had talked to a few of the other Pitmasters who were on season 1, kind of asking everybody, I think I actually did it with you, but asking each individual Pitmaster about some of the other people that were on the show. Inevitably, a lot of the folks came back to saying, well, you know, in order for Harry to do better, he needs to get out of those Weber Smoky Mountains and get something a little bit more substantial, not necessarily saying like a Jambo or a Close or, you know, some of these other well-known competition models. But obviously, he has done very well, and so have you, by just using these Weber Smoky Mountains and consistently winning on a regular basis.
Yeah, Harry sure proved everyone wrong, huh? Like, he's 4th in the country right now. Like, if he's not number 1 by next year, I'll be surprised. I really am. That guy has a mission, and you're not going to derail him. But they're good cookers. They do a good job, and I think you take any top Pitmaster and you give him one of those, and they're still going to win. You know, it's a good cooker, and it's a lot to do with the cook itself. You know.
So I know you're
Harry.
you're definitely good buddies with Harry. We saw it on the TV show. Certainly, you've made no bones about it here on the previous interviews that you've done with me. When you see Harry get so close to what was an absolute public mission to go to the Jack Daniels this year, only to really get shut out by what some would consider brutal technicality. I mean, how did that sit with you? And, you know, how did Harry feel about that?
It was a brutal technicality, but the fact remains it was a technicality, and he's going to go to the Jack. I wouldn't be surprised if he has his 7 by March of next year and be like the first person to get 7 the quickest. But it was a technicality, and Harry's a great cook, and he's a great, great friend and mentor to me, but it was a technicality, and it sucks that he wasn't there, but rules are rules, and a technicality doesn't mean you'll get automatically in.
You know a lot of the bigger names out there in the competition scene. You've met a lot of them. You've hung with some of them. Do you think that Harry Sue is getting the respect that he deserves as a cooker? Is the rankings that you see on a KCBS board enough, or do you think that he's still kind of overlooked?
He's totally overlooked. Even if he was number one, even when he becomes number one in the country, people will say, well, he's from California. That's not real barbecue out there. I guarantee that'll happen. And it's sad. Harry is amazing. It wouldn't matter if you put him in Texas or if you put him in Kansas City or if you put him in the Carolinas. He would still kick ass because he's just one of those people that has what it takes to be number one. There's very few of us out there, and eventually he will become one of those people that, like the Johnny Triggs and the Rod Grays, and he will be one of those people that, it'll be like the Harry Sue method, and I learned from Harry, and that's what I think will happen. Like, he's on a goal to not only go to the Jack, but win it, and he will. And people shouldn't take that lightly. He's a force to be reckoned with.
Gary Notley from Notley Q joining us here on the Barbecue Central radio show. Again, if you have a question for Gary, you want to jump in via telephone, you can dial in toll-free, 877-448-0433. Gary, you mentioned just here a minute or two ago about this whole California stigmatism that kind of plagues those people out on the West Coast. Is there a definitive or a considerable difference between how you guys are making barbecue, whether it be for an IVCA, whether it be for a KCBS event, than it is for the Midwest and for the East Coast?
I think we might tend to like the spicier side a little bit more just from the regular food we eat every day. And I think other parts of the country might not like as much spice as we add, or some of the flavors we have out here that we're used to. But we can adapt, there's some really good cookers. Like, I'm amazed at the amount of talent that has come out of California in the last few years. Like, look at the standings. Like, California, Arizona, there are some amazing teams, like Slap Your Daddy, Rhythm and Q, Otis and the Bird, All Sauced Up, Dave Malone. He's a force that came out in the last year and a half that is just like, wow, Dave, you're amazing. And there's a lot of teams like Smoke to the Bone that took the Nevada competition that she learned from Harry. And there was a lot of good teams out there, and it was an Arizona team that won it, and a female too. And it's just, we're like a force to be reckoned out here. There should be more teams from out east coming out here to see how good they are.
Gary Notley joining us here on the show. Gary, one of the questions I've been asking some of the pitmasters here recently is the fact that there seems to be a proliferation of competition cooking classes. Harry Sue obviously has one that he does very well with, and pretty much anybody that's in the top, it seems like at least anybody in the top 10, top 20 of any sanctioning body, regardless of who it is putting on some type of class. Do you think at this point, if you're just getting into, or if you're thinking about getting into it, is it worth the money to take a class? And then on top of that, just to kind of piggyback, do you think people taking a class and using what they learn in there and applying it directly to the next competition is leading us into a vanillaing of flavor profiles?
No, I think it's good. Like, if you're a serious competitor, you want to compete against the best. And that's the way I feel. Like, if I lose against a bunch of good people, that's all right, because I've tried my best against the best. And it's good that a lot of knowledge is being spread around. Like, it used to be, I think, a very closed group. Like, I'm not telling you how to do this, and I'm not telling you how to do that. But a lot of the old guard is letting down their guard and saying, here's what I do to be successful. And now everybody's learning, and you can see that there's a good mixture of, like, the old guys and the new guys that are doing well. And that just means, like, it's good that we're all spreading knowledge. And if you take a class and you do what you learned in class and take a grand champion at your next contest, go thank your teacher. You did great. you learned what you went to class for, So I think it's good. I've taken classes, and every class I've taken, I've something new popped up going, wow, I didn't think of that. That was totally worth my money.
Gary Notley joining us. Gary, do you have any advice for people that are out there? Maybe they're not looking to take a class necessarily, but they want to do something a little bit more out of perhaps what is being considered the norm in regards to what's being seen in the judges' tents. And I guess what I'm trying to say is people looking to build their own unique flavor profile. What advice, as somebody that has some experience in the competition scene now as yourself, what advice do you have for those people that might be looking to build their own flavor profile to work off of?
Good luck. If you do anything against the norm, you're going to get killed, even if it tastes good. Like there's something, and I haven't discovered it. There's a lot of teams that know what it is that the judges want because they win consistently, and I'm almost close to figuring it out, but I haven't figured it out yet. But if you do something wacky, even if it tastes good, even if it looks different, you're going to get killed. You will get killed, and I think it's wrong, but that's just what happens.
Is there anything that you can possibly suggest to remedy that potential situation? Because it seems like that there's personal bias entering in when technically the system is set up to eliminate a personal preference versus how it tastes and the other judging criteria that the specifications specifically lay out.
See, I can't speak for the rest of the country because I can only speak for out here, and it's just, to me, it just seems like you got the same cooks competing, even though there's a few more of us, but the same judges judging, and I don't think it would be too hard to figure out whose is whose after a while. Mm-hmm. But it's just like some of the scores out here are ridiculous. Like one guy gives you a 9 on taste, and the next guy gives you a 4. And it's just so wild, and I have no idea. Just probably 10,000 other of us cooks, what exactly we're doing wrong, And there's a few of them out there that know. There's a lot of teams out there that have figured out that what exactly the judges are looking for. But I have no idea how to remedy the problem. Just it's good the way it is. If you suck at a contest, the judges are the worst, and if you win, they're the best.
I have a question coming in from Scott over in California, your neck of the woods. Wanted to know, when you were working with Harry, and I'm sure you worked with him a lot more than aside from what we saw on the television show, but what were some of the major points that you took from him during your time together?
Stay focused on what you're doing. You're there for a task. Do it, complete it. It was a lot to learn. I do a lot of catering, and it's different, and it's very hard to change your mindset from, people eating a whole rack of ribs versus a judge eating one bite. And he really stuck the flavor profile, the one bite. That's what a lot of people forget. It's one bite. It's one bite. You might eat 10 pieces of your chicken after the turn-in, and that's all right, but it's one bite. And he just taught me, just the whole focus. You're there to win a contest. If you want to party, do like Harry didn't party, but if you're there to win a contest, focus on what you're doing that night. And that's the most important thing I've learned. And I've told that to other people, if you want to party Saturday night after you win some money. Friday night, you get wasted, it's going to mess you up.
Gary Notley joining us here. Notley Q, Q-U-E, NotleyQ.com is his website if you want to check him out. Gary, last question here as we're talking about competitions, but do you think that, and you've mentioned it a couple times, you have some of those upper echelon teams are out there 35, 40 times during the course of a year, really running up and down the road, doing a lot of miles, laying out a lot of expense, but they're winning too. As you said, they obviously have something figured out that allows them to recoup at least the majority of their expense. Perhaps they're even in the black at this point with some of them. Do you think that there needs to be some type of delineation or factioning to make a bigger or a different professional echelon, and then not backyard, but a semi-pro division for some of the other people, or is it just good the way it is?
I think it's good the way that it is. You know, it's like if like I live vicariously through Harry. So when I see him at 4th in the country, I'm as excited as he is, knowing that, you know, he's up there against the Pellet Envy and the Smoking Triggers and the Cancer Sucks, and, you know, that my boy from California is doing that. And I don't want, you know, and if I look where I am, I'm 4,000th, but I'm 4,000th in the country on a professional level of chefs. And to me, that's exciting. And you got to look at the big picture. It's like, I don't want to be the smartest of the dumb guys, you know? I want to be up there with the big boys. That's why I'm doing this. If you want to go and compete just for your friends on the weekend, that's cool. But there's other people out there who take this really, really seriously. And even though I'm kind of a joker and a goofball, and I do take my competition very seriously, and I don't want to dumb down what I do because I don't compete as much as the guys who do 40 contests. You know, they are able to do that. I wish I could do that. If I could do that, I would every weekend. But I still want to be able to be ranked among them in even if I do 4 contests a year, you know, to see my name on that top list, even if I'm the last team on that list, I'm the last team of a professional group of chefs. And to me, that's good enough.
Gary Notley joining us here on the show. So, Gary, let's transition out of the competition talk here, get a little bit more into the TV side. Had you kind of a counterpoint conversation early before the show even started, and I'm talking about Barbecue Pitmaster Season 2. I'm guessing, obviously, that you watched Season 2 in its entirety. You were part of Season 1, a fairly good portion. You were teamed up with Harry Sue, helping him kind of do what he was doing. What were your thoughts, just as a whole, of Season 2? What did you like? What didn't you like? And then we'll break it down from there.
I'm going to pull my foot out of my mouth because when we did that point-counterpoint, I hated the show without seeing it. And then at the end of the day, I loved the show. And what I didn't like was teams getting eliminated for stuff that they didn't necessarily know how to cook. But as, you know, as a TV viewer and not as a cook, I get that. That was what I didn't like. Everything else, like for $100,000, like that was the prize. You better be able to cook anything they throw in front of you. It wasn't a KCBS contest. It was a TV show contest. And for $100,000, if they, you know, if they threw kelp in front of you, do something with it, you know. It was good. I liked how a small team won it. And at the end of it, I enjoyed the whole show. There wasn't, the only thing I didn't like was teams going home for like not cooking rattlesnake and not cooking frog leg swell. That's kind of a bit ridiculous.
So here's my question, and I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit here, but if executive producer of the show, John Marcus, is saying that we want to get this show out, we want to expose barbecue to a broader audience, do you think that this was the vehicle and this was the format in order to properly do that, or perhaps, contradicting myself, of course, is competition barbecue just not exciting enough to hold a 4 competition meet for 6 weeks in a row and see who the best of the best is in, you know, in some type of more similar or more familiar sanctioned contest to those people that know about?
See, I've had friends tell me that they liked the first series because they liked following the competition, and they would have liked to have seen, like, they would have loved to have seen Harry progress, you know, on the tear that he's been on this year, and seen how Paul could have came out and kicked some ass, and maybe the other teams as well. And, you know, everybody loved Myron, but I think this year it was, you know, they liked it because it was a cooking show. It wasn't exactly what they were used to, but, you know, if they would have did a little bit more, like, this is how you cook a brisket, this is how you cook some chicken, like stuff that the general public could have taken home to use on their own backyard grill, I think they could have improved it in that sense. Like, they didn't even show, like, chicken till, like, the last episode. And, you know, if you've lost your, you know, your stay-at-home barbecuers that just cook on Friday, Saturday nights that wanted to learn tips, that's what I think was lacking, because there's not many people that grill up alligator on a weekly basis.
Not unless you're from the Bayou or Miami, I guess. But now, according to the numbers, and I've heard and read through various media outlets, significantly better than season 1. So a lot of people are obviously going to attribute that to the fact that season 2 of Barbecue Pitmasters took a similar concept of a number of other shows that were successful out there and applied it to itself. Any thought of perhaps making at least a name change to delineate itself? Or, I mean, I got all the insider information from John Marcus about cost of, logoing and all that other stuff, but would you have liked to have seen at least a name change?
Yeah, I think, if it was like the barbecue cooking challenge or something, because it wasn't Pitmasters. We all either loved or hated season 1 for whatever, but that was Barbecue Pitmasters in our heart. This year it was a cooking show, and it was good, but it wasn't Pitmasters. But what I thought was funny was, like on the message boards, everybody that hated season 1 all of a sudden loved season 1 because it was such a dramatic change. I thought that was funny.
Lots of contradiction abound there, no doubt about it. I noticed that too, by the way.
So, hey, how come you're not talking about that horse that was guaranteed to win?
Dude, I have a whole list in front of me, Holmes. Don't worry, we're going to get to that here in a second. One of the other things that I found interesting is, you're, I guess, kind of living that rock and roll lifestyle. You have some ink on you. You're tatted up a little bit. You were actually able to go on the show, which does very well, and again is by Original Media, which is the same show that does Barbecue Pitmasters. But you're on LA Ink, and you were actually able to get to some of that famous ink. Who did you get tatted up by, and what was the whole premise beside on the whole ink that you got on yourself?
I got the butcher diagram of the pig with all the cuts.
Right.
I got that done on my right arm with my Notley Q name, but instead of the names of the cuts, I got all the area codes of the places we competed in on Pitmasters, because that was such an incredible experience. Like, the crew and the cast were the most amazing people I've ever met. It was done by Craig Jackman at American Electric. He's the other, on LA Ink, they flip back between 2 studios. And I got it by him. He's an amazing artist. I told him basically what I wanted. He drew it up, and I got it done, and I love it. I got my pig on my arm.
So do you think when you look at – I've seen tattoos. My wife's got maybe 5 or 6 tattoos out here in Cleveland. I just got one on my left inside wrist, forearm willy. And when you see the people on television like Craig – or, there was a handful of other really good artists in the American Electric, obviously on the LA Ink side or whatever it is, high voltage over there. I mean, these are really the upper echelon tattoo people. Do you have a greater respect for these type of people that could actually probably freehand something just from their mind and it would be like a magical work on your body versus, some of the other shops that are out there? Or, what's your gauge on tattoos right now?
There's so much good talent out there, but it's incredible when you can get an artist who can almost be inside your head, that can figure out exactly what you want and then transform that from an idea to art on your skin. And Craig was so incredible. I told him what I wanted, and it just blew my mind how the end result was just so perfect. And I like color tattoos, and he gave me a black and white one that is just incredible. There's so much good work out there that each artist is different, and you just gotta work with your artist and tell them exactly what you want, and a good artist will transform that for you.
So for the show, I mean, a lot of people out there are fans of the show. They like the whole dynamic of how that particular episode or how those particular episodes unfold every week. How do you get on the show? I mean, do they put out an open casting call, or what's the process to get on that show? I mean, you seem to be kind of a reality TV star of sorts.
I just applied like everyone else does, and it's all about the story. You can have the best tattoo in the world, but if you don't have a story behind it that's interesting to the general public, it won't fly with them. And, that Pitmaster story, how incredible is that, I have my own barbecue team, and I go on with another barbecue team, and we go across the country, and I end up with my own episode, and they like that idea, so they put me on.
And are you applying for who you want to give the tattoo, or they just assign somebody to you and you're stuck with whoever they assign to you?
Yeah, they give you some like choices, and everybody's gonna pick Cat. I wasn't getting like a portrait, so Cat really didn't fit with me. Like, it would have been awesome to get a tattoo from her, but
right.
They figured out who would be good for me, and I looked at his work and liked what he did, and it turned out even better than I thought.
Hey, Gary, take the phone off your face, turn around to that lady, and tell her to shut the hell up. You're on the Barbecue Central radio show. I can't stand. I hate that lady. I don't even know her. Where are you right now?
I'm just out for dinner at like a bar and grill with some friends before we go to the show.
Awesome. All right. So overall, I mean, you're completely over the hill with this tattoo. You love it.
I love it.
Favorite piece of art
on your body? I'm going to get the cow on my left arm next.
Oh, so are you going to be like actually on the television? When is your episode going to air?
I think sometime next season. Like, it's weird how they put them on. Like, they'll film 2 or 3 people in one day, and they'll just stagger out. Like, it could be like 2 years from now.
Wow.
Before they put me on. It's just, you have no idea
yeah.
how when they'll put you on.
TV is endlessly fascinating to me, how they edit stuff down and make people look a certain way, or how you have this tattoo now for months on end, and it could be another year and a half before we actually see you on television getting it done. By the way, we're talking with Gary Notley. He is the pitmaster of Notley Q Barbecue Team, also Notley Q Catering, and the website is Notley Q, that's QUE, NotleyQ.com. All right, so it's the worst part of the show where I'm going to have to eat crow. For the people that are wild listeners to this show, you know undoubtedly, especially when it comes springtime, that I am rejuvenated with horse racing. I am from Saratoga Springs, New York, which is the home of the oldest thoroughbred racing, so I have that thoroughbred blood in my veins. I learned how to bet when I was 7 years old on the kiosks, and it sounds like, Gary, from our trading of Facebook posts back and forth, you have a little itching for the ponies yourself.
Oh, I love the ponies. I got Del Mar here. It's the best racetrack in the country. We're right on the ocean. The most beautiful women go there on a daily basis, and I love the ponies.
So here's the setup. We had the Breeders' Cup here, it was 2 weeks ago now, this coming weekend. And for the people that aren't into horse racing, this is probably where they're tuning out. But there's a female horse, Zenyatta, who was unbeaten up until this past, or up until 2 weeks ago. 19-0. Last year, she ran the Breeders' Cup Classic, and she won in dramatic fashion. Mike Smith hooking her to the outside, where she passes Gio Ponte to win, probably by 2.5 lengths, and it was an absolute fantastic finish. So she races a couple times this year, gets to 19-0, and here we are at the Breeders' Cup again a year later in Churchill Downs in Kentucky, where it's cold. I still don't understand what the hell is going on with that, why they wouldn't just go back out to Santa Anita again. Nevertheless, the race sets up in dramatic fashion, a deep field in regards to talent. I mean, can you, Gary, remember a Breeders' Cup Classic field that was as deep as the one we saw 2 weeks ago?
Nope. And as you like horse racing a lot different than I do. I like it strictly for the betting aspect of it.
The degenerate gambler aspect of it. Give me money, bitches. Yeah, that's right.
But I don't get why they don't run all their races out here in Del Mar in California. But it was just, don't believe the hype. I know she went 19-0, but there's just something about these big races where, look at them all. Like, the favorites never win. Look at the betting. Look at the winnings that, the trifectas and the exactas that have gone off in all the big races. And it's always a long shot. I told you I wouldn't take Zenyatta.
You did.
At all, but I put her in my box.
Right.
Because you'd be crazy not to. She's going to pull at least a second or third if she doesn't win it. And you have to include a horse of that magnitude in your bet. But it wasn't a horse that, if I was going to lay a straight bet on, I would not have placed her to win. I would have placed her to show. But I won nothing off that race at all. It was just such a wild finish that, but I just didn't think she would do it. There's just been too many disappointments. And if you look at all the big races, it's just crazy money that gets won on the exotic bets. And I just couldn't put my money straight down on her because I knew it wouldn't happen.
Now, I did have I had a small concern with the fact that Zenyatta was coming off. She'd only ever run on the synthetic tracks, and now we're really breaking it down to where people are really going to fall asleep. But out there on the West Coast, there's synthetic track, there's the polyfill or the syntha race or whatever you want to call it, but it's not real dirt. So when she moved out into the bread belt of the country here in Kentucky, that's straight dirt. That's a real dirt track, just like they have in Saratoga and a lot of other places out here on the East Coast. Now, if they would have went south a little bit to Keeneland, which just can't house that type of a venue, that's a synthetic track in itself. But so I think her odds would have been better. But as you looked through the day of races for the team or for the horses that won out west and came out towards east, they did very poorly on the dirt track, very poorly. So I was a little concerned up front, but I figured, you know what? Here's a horse. And I'm with you, Gary. I mean, at some point she's got to lose, right? But I figure this is a horse that she's going to come out. She's a stretch runner, so you know she's not going to be right out on the lead. And if Mike Smith has her in halfway decent position, which is somewhere up towards the pack in the rear as they're rounding the far turn, she's going to come a running. That's all that she ever does. That's all that she knows how to do. Why not one more time for old time's sake, and so I can stick it in your face here on live internet radio? But that's not the case, and I think... and let me ask you this, and you've seen Zenyatta run a bunch of times, you're a fan of the sport. Do you think that in defeat, that this perhaps somehow galvanizes and makes Zenyatta's legend even better because of how she lost in the last race versus actually winning that 20th in a row?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it was, I mean, dude, that finish was crazy.
Yeah.
That was crazy. And, yeah, is she a legend? We haven't seen a legend in the horse racing yet. You and I haven't.
No.
She's great. She's a Mike Tyson of, greatness that just quite didn't do it. Let's see her do it, But she's a great horse, She made a lot of people a lot of money. And she's going to continue to make a lot of money. But people were hyping her up way more than what I think was necessary.
All right, Gary, so I'm going to turn you loose. You're going to go to the show. But before I let you go, what else is happening here on the immediate schedule that we might want to find out about Gary Notley and Notley Q?
I just got called to do a Jerry Bruckheimer Christmas party, which I'm stoked about.
Nice.
If you live in San Diego, Pepper is playing 2 nights at the House of Blues in a couple days. So you should go check them out. They're a great band. Not much. If you should come out to the Henry Silvestri contest on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. It's like a back-to-back. He puts on great contests, great prize money. It's well run. Not much else going on in my life right now.
Hey.
That's it.
Sometimes not a lot is a great thing. And, of course, we always appreciate the time that we get with Gary Notley. Again, his website, Notley Q. That's QUE, NotleyQ.com. Gary, always appreciate the conversation. We'll look for you again soon.
Let's do it again.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on tonight. There he is, Gary Notley. Yeah, I know. Everybody's sleeping for the last 5 minutes of the conversation. You're going to have to indulge me because you know what? It's my freaking show. Beat it.
Get that big stuff out of here.
That was a classic race. If you don't like horse racing, for instance, my mother-in-law is not a horse race fanatic, but she has an interest in knowing when Zenyatta runs. She's always asking, when is this horse going to be running? So I will let her know. And she sat there in her house and watched the show, and 35 seconds after that horse got beat by a nose. Our house phone rang, and I can't believe, people are talking about it. That's what I like. At least they're talking about the sport. It's never going to be football. I know it. And there's a lot to know about the sport. And I know way too much for somebody my age. But look, I lived it. That was my deal. All right, let's blow out the prize closet here for the last couple minutes. Again, we were talking with Gary Notley from Notley Q, breaking it all down from competition to TV shows, to tattoos, to horse racing. 877-448-0433 is the number to get in. If you want a prize, here's what we have to give away. We did give away the Loop Lighter. We have frog mats. We have El Capitan Santa Maria style barbecue seasoning. We have wood smoke products from Green Leaf Barbecue. That's wine-infused oak chunks. Very nice. We also have the Cosmos Q. You can have an injection pack either for pork or beef, or you can get a pork or chicken soak, which is like that instant brine, which is very popular in the competition circuit and amongst backyard chefs. Also, wild game rub from Easy Hooks. That's from the good folks over at bbqhooks.com. If you're going to go over there, you might as well pick up a barbecue hook. That thing is phenomenal. It's the best bacon flipper ever. Plus, it can pretty much carry like 15 pounds of whatever. You got a 15-pound steak that you need to heave-ho. Your barbecue hook is your friend. That's right, and it's good folks over at Easy Hook. So, call in now. You don't have to play a game. You don't have to do anything. Just tell me what you want, and we'll ship it out to you. Courtesy of your favorite outdoor live fire cooking and grilling show, the Barbecue Central Radio Show right here on the Barbecue Central Radio Networks. Just give you a little idea of what we have coming up here next week. Let me see. What do we have going on here? Of course, we have, well, pardon me, but next week is Thanksgiving week. That's right. Next Thursday, the 25th of November is Thanksgiving. So we are going to have on my favorite guest, my favorite recurring guest. No offense to all my other recurring guests, because then when you come on, you're my favorite. But Ted Reeder, the Canadian barbecue and grilling expert, is going to be breaking it down in the long interview segment in the first hour. Perhaps next week you forget on a Wednesday night that it's Thanksgiving the next day. Well, he's going to break it down. He's got this, I think it was called like turducken chicken ham thing. This guy's mind is wild. He's going to be talking about other stuff. He's going to be talking about incorporating shots of Jack Daniels through a 75-foot bong. I mean, who knows what's going on with Ted Reeder. And also, we're going to be joined by, what's this guy's name? I apologize for this guy's name, Joe, oh man, what a last name on this guy, Svazia. He is the chief grilling officer of Galaxy Production Entertainment. He has written a cookbook, and it's called Barbecue Joe, Marinate Often, Grill Responsibly. And you can check that out at bbqjoe.com. We always love to have people on that have this cookbooks on. People love cookbooks. Barbecue people love cookbooks. So there you go. It's going to be Barbecue Joe, and it's also going to be Ted Reeder coming on next week. All right, we'll go to the phones. Area code 626. Name and where you're calling from.
I'm Ruben, West Covina.
Ruben, how are you, buddy?
Oh, real good. You have a great show there.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that, Ruben. We have a number of items that you can choose from here tonight. Let me go ahead and quickly run down the list, and you can pick which one you would like. We have frog mats. We also have El Capitan Santa Maria-style barbecue seasoning. We have wood smoke products from Green Leaf Barbecue. We have some Cosmos Q stuff. Also some wild game rub from the good folks over at bbqhooks.com. What would you like, Ruben?
Some Cosmo.
Now, we have injections either for pork or beef, or we have the soaks for chicken or pork. Which one would you like?
Injection for beef.
Beef injection it is, Ruben. All right, so here's what you have to do. Just go ahead and email me your shipping information, and that email address is greg@thebbqcentralshow.com, and we'll get that right out to you.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, thanks for calling in tonight, Ruben. West Side. If I had video on it, you could see me doing the W with my fingers. Okay, never mind. That's a bad idea. Okay.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Who am I? Skinny Smalls over here? Yeah, right. That was Ruben. Okay, area code 618, naming where you're calling from.
Yeah, this is Tom.
Hey, Tom, how are you tonight? Now, wait a second. Is this potential KCBS board nominee Tom Emery?
No, it's not him.
Oh.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Sorry about that.
I wish it was, Greg.
Do you?
No, this is Tom. This is Tom Wright.
Hey, Tom. Appreciate you calling in tonight, and we have a number of different items that you have to choose from here. We have some frog mats. We have some El Capitan Santa Maria-style barbecue seasoning. We also have wood smoke products, some green leaf barbecue, and some wild game. I don't know if you have any need for, or if you shoot any wild game to rub, but we have wild game rub from Easy Hooks as well. Is there anything that trips your trigger there, Tom?
Okay, I guess you probably got the Cosmos injection.
Yeah, Ruben just took the beef injection from Cosmos Q. I hate to say it.
Okay, let's do the El Capitan.
El Capitan it is, and believe me, you're not going to be sorry that you selected. It's one of my favorite rubs of all time. Not only that, Tom, it's Harry Carey's favorite rub. He likes to put it in his Budweiser beer that's ice cold. So here's what you need to do, Tom. Just send me your shipping info, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com, and we'll get that El Capitan right out to you.
Okay, Greg, I certainly appreciate it, buddy. Enjoy your show very much.
Hey, I appreciate you listening. Thanks for calling in tonight, Tom. Hey, I'm not going to... Why does Skype always ask me to rate my calls? Just not going to do it. I'm not the fill out the survey guy. Unless you're going to pay me up front, I'm not doing it. So stop it. All right, so Tom gets the El Capitan, and Ruben gets Cosmos Q. Don G suffered through a verbal lashing from Harry Carey, as I understand it, to get the Luftlighter giveaway. We have two more to give away, by the way. Is that redundant? We have two more to give away over the next 2 weeks. One next week, one the week after that. So you can use that for yourself. If you happen to know somebody that loves barbecue and grilling, you can give that away as a succulent gift. It's an $80 value coupled with a $975,000 shipping charge. It's a $78 million prize package brought to you free from the good folks at Luftlighter. If you've never seen it, go to the website Luft, L-O-O-F-T, Luft USA, L-O-O-F-T USA, luftusa.com. You can check it out. They have some videos up there. You can also go to my Facebook page and see me try it out for the very first time. Unadulterated video. 877-448-0433. Still a couple more prizes if you want to jump in. Let's see here. Got a question. Oh, man. This was for Gary. Would like to know what Gary thinks of the Weber Smoky Mountain conversions for standard Weber kettles like the Cajun Bandit. Smoke Easy. These are much cheaper alternatives. I don't know what Gary says, but here's what I'm going to tell you. I think, in my estimation, if you want to get a Weber Smoky Mountain, don't turn something that isn't a Weber Smoky Mountain into a Weber Smoky Mountain. Just get one. The 18.5 inch is what? $250, $300. It's going to be the best money you've ever spent in your freaking life when it comes to barbecue. Especially if you're a backyard guy like me. I have a pair of them. I would gladly pay $300 per for the pair that I have. Well, individually, of course. So $600 for the pair that I have. I would gladly pay upwards of $700 for the pair. They're as easy and as consistent and as reputable a cooker that you're going to get for that price range. The capacity is very good, especially if you're just a family of 5 or less or 6 or less. You can get a lot of food on there. And, man, they're just wonderful. Don't cheap out. Don't cheap out. Get the real thing. Use your Weber kettle for what it was meant to do. Indirect grilling and high heat direct grilling. Grilling, not smoking. I know that people say that they smoke all the time in their 22.5 inch Weber kettle grills, but that's not what it's made for. It's just not. With all the market things that you can get out there, I can always smoke or barbecue something better in my Weber Smoky Mountain because that's what it was made for. I can always grill better in my kettle grill than I would be able to on my Weber Smoky Mountain grill because the kettle was made to grill. So stop it. Just go out and get one, and you can thank me later, sir. Good day. Oh, what? No, Jim Minion. You just wait a second. All right, here we go. Let's wrap this bad bitch up. Thanks to my first hour guest. That would be George Shore from Pitmaker. Pitmaker.com. You got to check their smokers out. The vaults are cool. The offsets are retarded. TV. He's got TVs in his cookers. Awesome. Derek Riches from About.com, breaking down the new design of the burners in the Weber Genesis line coming out next year. Also the Butterball oilless turkey deal and that electric grill. If you're into electric grills, $500. Yours works well, according to Derek. bbq.about.com, his website. Keep up. And, of course, my second-hour guest, Gary Notley from Notley Q. His website, Notley, Q-U-E, NotleyQ.com. We will see you back here again next Wednesday with the vocal video, ladies and gentlemen, because I'll get a new computer that can handle the task. I demand a lot from my computer during production, and it shall perform. So we'll be back with live video. That way you guys can listen to some great barbecue and grilling content and vomit every time you see my face. It doesn't get better than that. Until next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.